My name is Jillian Perrick, and I'm a lover of all things orange chocolate. Think One Tree Hill is way better than the OC. And as a person who stutters, I hope to one day inspire women with invisible disabilities to overcome their limiting beliefs and start the business of their dreams, just like I did. I'm a mindset coach specializing in imposter syndrome, helping women beat their inner imposter using neurolinguistic programming, hypnosis, and time techniques. And this is the From Imposter to Empowered podcast. This podcast is for you if you're an entrepreneurial woman trying to navigate the online space with a lot of passion and a lot of uncertainty. If you feel like your ideas are unoriginal, that your message isn't necessary or important, or like you're a complete and total fraud, then you've come to the right place. This podcast will take you from imposter to empowered with ninja-like brain hacks, easy to implement strategies, and uplifting real talk to make you feel like everything you want is in reach. Let's get started, girlfriend. Hey, welcome back to From Imposter to Empowered. So today's episode, I have a guest that I never thought I'd get on, and that is my partner, Dustin. So we've been together for 13 years, and throughout the podcast, you are going to hear Hugo breathing heavily. So that's a lot of the reason why we are laughing, because we're just like, why is this dog so attached to our hips? He is loving quarantine, and so are we. We're really enjoying spending this time together and having more time to like clean and cook and like do things that it's such a weird time, but like I am truthfully really thankful for it because it's provided a lot of clarity for me. And as much as it's been good though, I hope it doesn't continue for too long because damn, we got to get back to normal. Life's got to get back to normal. But anyways, when you're listening to this, it's going to be the end of May. So hopefully by that point we have more clarity on the situation. But this podcast episode, the reason why I wanted Dustin to come on the podcast was because I wanted him to give a perspective of somebody who's in a relationship with a coach. So somebody who has experienced me going through different stages of school and all the certification and stuff to become a coach and ultimately open up my coaching business. He's been there through the highs and the lows. He's been there since I made my first dollar. So he has been super supportive the whole time, but he also like had his doubts just about like in terms of like investing and like having a stable job. I think he even says that during this episode. And these are all real fears and real things that people in our life are experiencing. And the point of this episode was for you to see that like a lot of our partners have the same way of thinking in terms of like they're supportive. They're just obviously going to be weary and they're obviously going to ask questions. And that doesn't mean that we're not on the right path and that we don't know what we're doing. It just means you have to trust and be open and honest with those people in your life. And because he's my partner, I obviously talk to him about it the most. And I do value his opinion, and I understand if you don't have a super supportive partner. I totally get it. And I just don't want you to use that as a deterrent to not doing what you want to do and not being a coach, because I promise you that they do want to support you. They're just thinking very logically and just thinking about the future, and they're just in self-preservation mode like we all are at all times, and it doesn't mean that they don't support you. And I think that's just a really important message, and I think you'll like his perspective. He's super quiet. I had to beg him to do this, but he even said to me afterwards, he's like, next time I'll be better. And I was like, wow, that's really cute. Now I feel really bad that I made you do that. But he actually used to be in a band, and he used to sing. So he was like, I don't know how I did that. So definitely out of his comfort zone. So I'm so appreciative for him coming on the podcast and entertaining me. And I hope you guys love this episode. So thanks for doing this recording with me, babe. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So the listeners really wanted to hear an episode from you, especially because we were talking about our anniversary a couple of weeks ago. So we've been together for how many years?
13.
13, yes.
Yep.
And people were like, oh my God, you've been together for so long. And we can get into like a couple of like relationship things, but one of the things that I thought that people really wanted to know was just in terms of what I started doing as a coach and when I became a coach, and what your reaction was to that, and how you have dealt with it over the last 2 years. So can we get your initial reaction to it? If you think it's weird, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my initial reaction was good in this situation because that's basically what you went to school for, and that's what you know about. And I have confidence in you. Obviously, there's going to be doubts at the beginning because I know you have a pretty secure job right now, and at the beginning, it's one of those things where I don't think of coaching as something that I would go and pay for myself. But it was kind of hard to understand how you would make a lot of money from that at first. But
yeah,
then
for sure.
Once you see more of who needs it, what kind of people are getting coaching, it's mostly entrepreneurs and things like that. So that makes more sense. And obviously, as you've grown your business, I've become more confident in what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think it's kind of hard to understand too, because the online component is so different from what we're used to. We're so used to our friends working 9-to-5 jobs and doing the same old thing. So when I started doing it, a lot of it was worry about what people were gonna think. But I think you did a really good job of just supporting me and not giving in to me when I worried about what other people would think.
And I think that it's kind of easy for me because I don't know, you were kind of easy to believe in. So I don't know if other people's situation, maybe they're
That's cute.
My girlfriend doesn't know what the hell she's talking about. So I could see maybe that being different.
Yeah.
But in my case, it was easier.
Thank you. So sweet, baby. We're here with Hugo. Hugo is attached to Dustin's hip, as always. And something I also wanted to ask you was about how did you feel about the investments that I was making in my business? So we've talked about them before. I think in the beginning I wasn't as transparent, but now as because I'm more confident in what I'm doing and you're seeing a return on it, I think it's easier to be more transparent about it. I was always honest about my investments, but you didn't need to know the exact number, especially because we're both pretty independent for ourselves. As long as we pay all the stuff that we need to pay for, it's all good. But how did you feel about me investing in that stuff during a time where we're really up and coming in our relationship, I guess you could say?
Pretty weary at first. Because like you said, I don't know the exact number.
Yeah.
And you tell me sometimes, but I don't think you tell me all the time, especially when I find out later, oh, I spent this much on this. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah.
But like I said, you haven't given me a reason to doubt you. So
yeah,
if you were completely struggling and spending all this money, I'd be like, well, maybe we need to reprioritize.
Yeah. And I think though, I've always had our best interests at heart, and that's why you can trust me. And I think that's why it's also important, when you're in a supportive relationship, to have that open communication, but also know that you can trust in that person to make the right decisions. Sometimes I feel if people are really restrictive with what their partners are investing in, they really don't trust their judgment. Let's say somebody who is listening to this episode wants to go to their partner and wants to talk to them about hiring a coach, or wants to talk to them about starting a coaching business and all the stuff that comes with that. What kind of advice would you give them?
Yeah, honesty is obviously the most important thing, especially when you're trying to run a business and all these financiers are involved and you have a partner.
Yeah.
But being open about it is probably the best thing.
Having that open communication with you from the get-go has been really good, because when I need that support from my partner, and I know that that's not the case for a lot of people because they don't have supportive partners, it means a lot that I can come to you and talk to you about that stuff and not have you just slough me off or like tell me I'm acting stupid or whatever.
So, like I was saying, for me, it's a little easier because I trust in your judgment and I believe in what you're doing. But I don't know if you had a partner that isn't that way, then...
How would you suggest them ease him into it or ease her into it?
Well, I don't know, guys might hate me for saying this, but maybe sort of along the way of the way you did it by not being completely... I'm not saying, like, lie.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, don't be like, hey, if you spent $10,000 on something or coaching or whatever, just for an example.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm trying to say. Don't lie about it, but...
Like, ease them into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to put them into shock, like, holy fuck, if it's all coming out of nowhere.
It's almost like if you were to be like, hey, I'm gonna start this, like, streaming career, and I'm gonna spend $20,000 on equipment and doing all this shit.
Yeah, you gotta invest in yourself, and whether you're a man or a woman, like a guy could do that, and he would expect his girlfriend to kind of, I would assume in most cases they would expect their girlfriend to kind of support them in doing that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and
for sure.
see the benefit of doing that. So it should go both ways.
Yeah, I agree. Great advice. Such good advice. You guys have no idea how hard this has been to get him to do this interview. Yeah. He's hating his life so much, but thank you for doing it, but I still have more. Don't worry. So now let's go into more just like regular relationship advice. Why do you think we've been able to exist together for 13 years? I really want to hear your answer to this, as Hugo is like looking like a potato on your chest.
How much we've experienced together, that's fun.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that we can look back on things together and that it was me and you that experienced it. It wasn't me and some other girl or me and other girl 2 and other girl 3, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like we don't have a bunch of exes and stuff that we have to worry about. And then obviously family's a huge thing. Like your family is my family. Mm-hmm. Like I feel like that about them.
Yeah.
And I would hope that you'd feel that way about my family at this point.
I do for sure. And I think like we make a point each day to like have a good time together, whether it's for 20 minutes.
And as far as day-to-day goes, we, like you said, we spend time together, we have fun together, but we also respect each other's space, and when we
for sure, yeah,
want alone time, it's not, oh, what's wrong with her? Like, what did I do? She just wants to watch TV by herself. Yeah,
exactly.
It's not a big deal.
And like, we do have really good communication as well. I come from a family where we almost had too much communication, and you come from a family that basically didn't communicate at all. So on my end of the spectrum, I was always like really aggressive and like always need to like say exactly what's on my mind, and you're more like reserved and you keep to yourself. And so it's taken us both time for me to cool my jets and like give you space when you need space, and for you it's been like coming forward and being honest with me about how you feel and like opening up and talking to me, like especially if you don't like something. So I think the communication piece is really important because not everybody knows how to openly communicate without having an argument all the time.
When it comes to like things we enjoy or things we have in common, we know what we don't have in common and we know what we do have in common.
Yeah.
So when it comes to things that we want to do or spend time together with, I'm not gonna, even though I'd like you to, I'm not gonna make you go through a Star Wars marathon.
He's still on that. Still on the Star Wars. It'll never happen,
but
sweetie.
You haven't seen it, so.
But like, do I want to? Do I want to spend hours and hours watching Star Wars?
No, I just want you to like nice things. But like I said, we can just spend time doing the things we both want to do.
And I think our own hobbies is like a really big thing too. I think when it comes to sustaining such a long-term relationship, it's really nurturing that relationship with yourself and really realizing what you like, what you don't like, who you are without the other person, because we've never really known anything else since we were like 15 as to what it's like to be single and like not have that other person. But for those of you who don't know, I went away to university for 4 years and I was about 3 hours away. And even though you traveled and you came to see me and all that stuff, like we still have spent a considerable amount of time away from each other and building our own relationships with ourselves instead of just being, we can't do anything without each other. Something that I also think is really huge is I still have like the same group of girlfriends and I still make a lot of time for them, and you as well. Like we have our own friends and we also hang out all together, but we have friendships and we have relationships outside of each other.
I think that's a big part of us, why we're together as well, is because we hold on to relationships and we work on them. We don't just, oh, you did this to me, fuck you, I'm not talking to you again, sort of thing.
Yeah. And I think that goes with, again, more like personal development in terms of like realizing that we're all just wanting to be loved and appreciated, and like it's scary to be rejected, but when you're willing to like work on something instead of just like walk away when something gets hard. And I think like we've always done that, like just if something got hard, because we've grown up together, we started living together, then we bought a dog and a cat, and like we've started jobs and ended jobs, and I started a fucking coaching business, and like there's a lot of things that we've endured. I think that's what's important with the long-term relationship, is to like nurture it and also nurture the relationship with yourself, and kind of put your ego aside a lot of the time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. So do you have any like last words or advice? You want to say anything nice about me so everybody knows how much you love me? I swear he's a lot more outgoing than he's pretending to be. He actually used to be a singer in a band, and he used to be front, right, and center. So I was asking him, I was saying like, you used to like stand up in front of crowds and sing, and he's like, I don't know how I did it.
Yeah, I used to be cool, but I don't know how.
I think you're still cool. I think you're still cool and hot. Is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners about yourself or about our relationship, or any like last minute advice that you would give the listeners at all about relationship advice or about being a partner of somebody who's a coach? Speed round.
I don't know how valuable my advice is, like I said, because
it's very valuable. Don't discount yourself. We don't do that on this podcast.
Okay. But yeah, for me, it's been easy. I don't know. You just got to support each other and be honest. And if both parties are doing that, then it should be all right. But like I said, it's different for different relationships. But
I think that's pretty universal for all relationships in terms of supporting each other and being honest and having open communication even when times are hard. I think that's really, I think that is really important.
Just like, don't doubt if there's no reason to doubt.
Yeah.
And if there is, you gotta work through it.
Babe, thank you so much for doing this episode. Maybe we'll do a part 2 one day.
Thank you for having me.
And I love you.
Love you too.
Thanks so much for listening to the From Imposter to Empowered podcast with me, Jillian Perrick. If you loved this episode, take a screenshot and share it on your Instagram story. And don't forget to tag me at Your Coach Jill. Of course, I'd love for you to rate the podcast 5 stars and leave a review. And if you screenshot your review and send it to me at Your Coach Jill on Instagram, I'll send you a free gift. At the very least, make sure you follow me on Instagram, again at Your Coach Jill, for tons of free content, strategies, and inspo. See you next time.